Again, so how did it get this bad? My personal opinion from talking to everybody is apathy. Nobody cares. And the reason why we know that nobody cares is because we have 228,000 people in Hall County, but right off the bat, only 63% of those are actually registered to vote. So you can probably make a claim for maybe documentation status or some numbers right off. But again, right off the bat, we already have 63%. We're down. Yeah. Oh, yep. Sweet. Okay. Sweet. All right. So we have 63%, right? But when we actually vote, how many of those people actually vote? And so on November 4th, 2025, we see that only 17.5% of the people actually voted. So that means only 11% of Hall County actually cares enough to show up to vote, right? And the problem with that is there's a lot of money involved. A lot of money. And so we look at the 2026 budget, right? It's about $400 million, somewhere in there. And then through SPLOST that we just approved, it's about $62.8 million a year. So we have $460 million a year that we spend, and only 11% of the people in the county actually care who spends it and what it's getting spent on, right? So a huge problem. I always say that this is kind of the unsung hero of the county commission stuff. We hear about the land use, everybody complains about. We hear about the budget a lot, but something that I don't think gets really any traction is down here on the bottom. And there's actually 1,863 full-time equivalents in Hall County government employees. We don't talk about that very often, but that is an important part. Right now, the county commissioners only really care about the county administrator and the assistant county administrators as far as their interview process and that kind of stuff. But realistically, I think probably anybody that makes over $100,000 a year, the commissioners really need to be involved in that interview process. To me, they've outsourced a lot of the county, outsourced a lot of stuff to the county commissioner, or the county administrator, sorry. And the county administrator, in my opinion, is really who's running the show. And so again, this gets to be an even further problem when we look at the comprehensive plan. And so an even smaller amount of people even care about the comprehensive plan. We know this from the comprehensive plan itself. So this is the current comprehensive plan. Right here in the middle is the most important part for right now. It says 630 total responses. So the county had, for about 3 months, they had an open response. Anybody that lived in Hall County, you could give your input into the comprehensive plan. How many people did that? 630, right? So now 0.03% of Hall County cared enough to give their input into the comprehensive plan. And we see up there on the top, between 2018 and 2022, Hall County approved 94 rezonings. An analysis of those rezoning cases shows that 66% of them were compliant with the land use framework set forth in the 2017 comprehensive plan. So not only are 0.03% of the people caring enough, but then the county commissioners, 34% of the time, they don't even care about the plan that 0.03% made. They're going to do whatever they want. So again, you have this problem where not only does nobody care about the comprehensive plan, but then the commissioners don't care, and the county doesn't care to get your feedback. This is how this has gotten this bad. Down here it says all 94 cases were rezoned to planned development, so that's planned residential, planned industrial, or planned commercial development. If you're familiar with the land use stuff and you go to the meetings, you did hear a lot of that prior to this new comprehensive plan. But the reason why planned developments exist is to get around the comprehensive plan. Okay, so why the comprehensive plan matters? I'm going to read a little bit off of this thing. So the first part, actually, that was a great tee up in the back, whoever asked that question. So the first part, it's curated in the Georgia Code, obviously. Right, so the first part says, by statute, where cities and counties engage in the exercise of their zoning powers, the zoning must be done in accordance with the comprehensive plan. So every 7 years, every municipality has to give a comprehensive plan to the state. This is what your framework is supposed to be, right? And then we talked about a court case. The best one that I could find, and really the first one that used a lot of leverage on, which is Eastlands Incorporated versus Floyd County in 1979. And it says, it has been frequently stated and generally recognized that spot zoning ordinance can be justified only when when it is in accordance with a comprehensive plan. It also says, similarly, it's been stated or recognized there is no spot zoning, using that term as a label of invalidity when a zoning ordinance giving a different classification basically meets the comprehensive plan. So we have established legal framework for why the comprehensive plan matters. So very dangerous that nobody cares about it. And this is what happens when stuff goes sideways. So if you only wanted 0.03% of the people to give their feedback and you didn't care about telling anybody and you were going to run it into the ground, what you would do is you would give a lot of people that make money off the comprehensive plan the keys to the comprehensive plan. And that's exactly what this page is. So these are the people that are on the steering committee. Mr. Bill Berry actually is about the only person I can think of that I would trust on this steering committee. There's a lot of people that don't need to be here at all because they make money on the plan. But this is the list of those people. There's 3 names on here that we're going to reference just in a little bit. One of them is Steve Gilliam. Steve Gilliam is a I would say, notorious rezoning attorney. He's involved in suing the county a bunch of times. Whenever he doesn't get his way, he sues the county because he has language in there that states, this meets the comprehensive plan. Well, of course it meets the comprehensive plan. This dude is help create the comprehensive plan, of course. The two other ones that we're going to reference are Chris Braswell and Sharon Millwood. They are Norton agents. Not anything really about Norton, but it's going to come up here just in a little bit for a rezoning that they did, which is why it's a problem to put these people on the steering committee. So the first part, the comprehensive plan is not a roadmap, it is the roadmap. All right, it's not a suggestion, it's what the commissioners are supposed to, in theory, follow. Realistically, if you're talking about that kind of thing, commissioners almost don't even need to exist, right? Because they're supposed to follow the comprehensive plan if it's good. So again, we talked about this middle 0.02% of the time. Our people give the feedback every time, right? So we'll hide the meeting. So the last comprehensive plan update meeting that we had was on 1:30 on a Tuesday. Who can make that? About 5 people did. We would ignore the plan 34% of the time from the commissioner standpoint. We would stack the deck from the steering committee with people that are making money off the plan. And then we would shame people that dare ask, right? Because we're going to bankrupt the county if we don't approve this stuff, right? So then you come up with this stuff that's really driven from developers onto don't even bother showing up, because even if it gets voted down, we're going to sue the county into oblivion. So the whole thing, in my opinion, is set up for failure, right? Because we've given basically the hen house to the wolves. And so that's just how we've gotten so bad. People don't care, the county doesn't care. What happens in the power vacuum? It's not that power ceased to exist, it's that the developers took over. Okay, and we know this is true because in the 2005 comprehensive plan, up there in the top right corner, it has a listing for agricultural residential. Agricultural residential is pretty much everything, right? North Hall, East Hall, used to be South Hall. In 2005, we had 172,000 acres of agricultural residential. Okay, in 2025, we had 116,290 acres. So we lost 54,800 acres in 20 years. Okay, that's how much we rezoned out of that. So that's like 32%. So what is that going to look like in 40 years? We're going to have no agricultural residential in 40 years. We're going to look like Fulton County or DeKalb or Gwinnett or Cobb County, whatever. So the path that we're on, if you want to be in Fulton County, just wait 40 years and we'll be gone. All right, so this is where we're going to pick back up with the Norton Agency just a little bit. And so this is the 2017 to 2024 comprehensive plan, the last one we just had. We just got rid of it. And so you can see here, we're going to talk specifically about 4745 Cagle Mill Road, which is right here. And as you can see, if you can see in the back, the colors for this thing are a rural designation. At the time, if you had frontage on 365, you would have been considered an employment corridor. Only if you had frontage, though. But everywhere else, as far as residential goes, that was a rural designation. What was a rural designation, you ask? That's a great question, because in 2017, that meant you allowed minimum lot sizes of 1.5 acres. This is what the comprehensive plan said, right? Just 2 years ago. Okay, so that rural designation for 4745 Cagle Mill Road was supposed to have a minimum lot size of 1.5 acres, which is why they had to ask for a PRD. All right, so here's some lovely people on this page. This is 4745 Cagle Mill Road. This is straight out of Q Public. We see here that the owner is CBD Investments, care of the Norton Agency, Mr. Stephen Levitt, right there in the middle. He is the managing guy for just about half of Lula. It seems like Mr. Braswell there on the left was on the steering committee, also a member of the Planning Commission. So that tie-in right there is going to come up several times here. So here's the timeline for 4745 Cagle Mill Road. We see that in March 22nd, all the way at the top, Mr. Josh Bowling, who is representing CBD Investments, he came and brought forward a PRD for 349 lots at 4745 Cagle Mill Road. And like we just talked about before, does that meet the comprehensive plan? Absolutely not. It did not meet. In fact, it was recommended for denial. They had the first Planning Commission hearing on May 20th, and it was immediately tabled to June 3rd. On June 3rd, it was immediately tabled to June 17th. On June 17th, it was immediately tabled to August 19th. A big problem we're going to talk about later. These people table for a number of reasons, but it's beyond ridiculous at this point. On August 19th, they withdrew the application. Why did they withdraw the application? Because in August of 2024, at the exact same time, the steering committee had their final meeting for the final version of the comprehensive plan. So they met for the last time, they gave a finalized version to the Planning Commission, and then of course it's adopted by the Board of Commissioners on December 9th, 2024. Why is that important? Because when we had 5 kind of designations before, now we got like 10. So we have twice as many character areas in the new comprehensive plan. And you'll see that, we're going to zoom here in a second, so it's up there in the yellow. But 4745 Cagle Mill Road changed on December 10th. What did it change to? All right, so 4745 Cagle Mill Road is right here. It also included this lot, and this lot. So employment corridors are fine because it has frontage on 365, but this is the lot that changed. So it changed to suburban neighborhood low density. And you might think to yourself, low density, that sounds great. But you'd be wrong, because residential densities in the new suburban neighborhood low density can be up to 2 dwellings per acre. All right, so we had 1.5 minimum lot size on December 9th. On December 10th, now you have a minimum lot size of 0.5 acres. So we 6x'd the amount of homes that we can put on that one lot at 4745 Cable Mill Road. And then even worse, we allow for this new rezoning called a residential mix, which is RX, which is what they ended up asking for. But that allows you up to 8 dwellings per acre. And RX is townhomes, basically. It's a fancy word for townhomes. So we're going to pick up 4745 Cable Mill Road right in February, right? So it passed in December. They withdrew the previous August. 2 months later, we get the same people right back at 4745 Cable Mill Road. This time they're asking for an RX. Surprise. They're asking for the brand new RX that was just created in a brand new comprehensive plan. I wonder who could have told them that. All right, so 379 units, almost immediately they withdraw it. It comes back in March 21st, so almost a year later, right? Now it's got a new LLC, BCBTR. We don't know who that is. More than likely when that happens, somebody needs to get paid that's on the new LLC. So it comes in front of the Planning Commission on June 2nd. This time, though, it's recommended for approval, okay? Because the comprehensive plan changed. Yep, so now, per the comprehensive plan, it's supposed to go there. So on June 2nd, it's immediately tabled to July 7th. On July 7th, it's immediately tabled to August 4th. At August 4th, if you recognize this date from the Mitchell investigation, August 4th, it passes 3-2. This was the rigged vote. This is the rigged vote. This is the one where Chris Braswell, Stan Hunt, and Frank Sosby are meeting in the back room. They decide that Stan is going to make the motion to deny. It's going to fail. This is that application, 4745 Cable Mill Road. All right, so it passes the Planning Commission, or well, it's recommended for approval, technically. It's heard by the Board of Commissioners on September 11th. It's immediately tabled to December 11th. I have no clue what's going on there. Maybe there's some people in the back of the room that can explain why it got tabled for that long. The second Board of Commissioners meeting, it passes 3-2 in the same manner. Mr. Poole makes a motion to deny, and it is passed around him. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, why is high-density residential bad? Well, it's bad for a whole number of reasons, but the biggest reason is cost. And so from the comprehensive plan, it says at the very top, it says, the taxes generated by residential development do not fully pay for the services it requires. The old number was 10 cents a square foot. Mr. Gibbs and our county administrator, Mr. Probst, would tell you that's about 15 cents a square foot right now. So that means in 4745 Cable Mill Road, we had 323 units, 2,000 square foot average, 646,000 square feet. That means to everybody in here that pays taxes in Hall County, we got a $97,000 bill for that neighborhood being passed because the residential millage rate does not cover the services that are required by residential. But that's just the county. I got you, I'm getting close. All right, so here's the even worse part. So from the National Association of Home Builders, they have a lovely little graph up here that tells you how many kids you can expect. Sorry, Mr. Woods. They can tell you how many kids you expect from that given development that are going to be in the school system. So we know that from 323 units, if we use our lovely table graph over there, we know that we can expect about 154 students in Hall County School District based on our current expenditures at $13,735. That means $2.1 million it's going to cost us to pass that neighborhood. But from the townhomes and the detached homes, based on those numbers, we're only going to get about $720,000 in property taxes. So that means that bill for that neighborhood that we passed at 4745 Cable Mill Road, you guys got the $97,000 bill, but then you also get a bill for $1.4 million from the school system to pay for those kids. The worst part about it is if they were rentals, and we've had several of those, we got one in Lula. If they're rentals, you have even more kids in a rental, so you end up with about $4.50 to pay for each square foot that you pass of residential. So residential, especially high density, is not sustainable for a whole host of reasons. We talked about it before, infrastructure from sewer and from the roads everybody complains about, but really from a cost standpoint, it's not sustainable either. We're going to have to start jacking up taxes. Okay, this is really kind of the last slide. I love door knocking, but man, it takes forever because you will eventually meet people that they have nothing else going on other than to talk to you. So, so in the door knocking part, I always ask a series of questions just because I'm interested to know. In a very petty way, I would like to be more accurate than the comprehensive plan. And so I always ask how many people have heard of the comprehensive plan. Actually, we can do this here. Raise your hand if you've heard of the comprehensive plan. Yeah, that looks good. All right, Raise your hand if you actually filled out anything from the county for the comprehensive plan. Definitely Mr. Barry. All right, yeah, like 6 people. Okay, so when I ask, about 20% of the people have actually heard of the comprehensive plan. I'm actually doing really good. I'm doing way better than the county did as far as how many people have actually filled it out or finding those people. I'm about 5%. These numbers are a little bit old because they're from about a week ago. And then I always ask this question: how many people do you think their feedback needs to be solicited from to update the plan? And the current average is 31.5% people, which means that's about 72,000 people in all county. My personal opinion is it certainly needs to be higher than 630, but anywhere, a couple thousand people would be great. I always ask this one. This is North Hall and East Hall, obviously. I ask how many people want more development around them. Only 2% of the people that I've ever asked, and the only answer that I ever get is, I would like another restaurant. They don't want any more residential. They don't want any more commercial. They don't want any more industrial. They want a restaurant, and that's it. Gotcha. So that is it. So when you hear developers like, well, that's what progress looks like. That's not what progress looks like to 99% of the people in North Hall or East Hall. Then I always ask them, what is the minimum acre? If you were going to support a neighborhood on your road, what would be the minimum lot size you would like to see? The average answer right now is 2.5 acres. That's probably not realistic. I think we need to go probably R1L if we're going to get real nerdy and technical. There's an existing zoning classification that would actually work really well, 3, but it's 1.5 acres. So that would be my personal answer. And then I always ask, where is Hall County doing well? Sorry, Mr. Gibbs, you're not going to like this answer. 45% of the time, people tell me nothing. They cannot come up with anything that Hall County is doing well. In fact, 18% of the time they say Parks and Leisure, but really the second answer is a very sarcastic, they're great at blowing my money. They're great at having meetings in back rooms. Like a very sarcastic answer is really number 2. And then I always ask, where is Hall County not doing well? And it's really split between overdevelopment and communication. I hate to say it, but like nobody in District 3 wants to be in South Hall. Sorry, District 1 guys. I know you guys are here tonight. That's the one thing I always hear from people in District 3. I don't want to be South Hall. Okay. And then the very last thing is this verse has kind of been on my heart here for, probably a week or so. Proverbs 3:27, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it is in your power to help them. So I have the background to this from having to do it myself, right? Because at the time I was bringing my applications forward, the county had fired everybody in planning and zoning. I was basically having to do my own homework. So I have the background, but then the really cool part and really why I'm running is just really in the last, year or so. Started with Helena Dale of H&H Homestead, Rachel Rich of the Lanaga Highway, Mary Corain of Lawson Road, Brad Walton of Fire Branch Winery and Vineyard, Haley Stapleton here on Triple Gap Road. But I've had a really great opportunity to help people that go through the process. I always say the process is not made for people that haven't done it before, so if you're going to try to work from home, they ain't going to really help you a whole lot. Hopefully we can change that. But that calling to help people is really why I'm running and why I got interested in it. So that's why I'm running. Hopefully, I always tell my wife it's the best unpaid job right now, getting to help people. So hopefully that's why I'm running, is to actually make it a paid job. So.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions. I was trying to give you a time limit. Anyone?
Yeah, 2. 2 or 3.
I don't need it.
I think he's got a loud voice.
So Tim, you want to go first?
Yeah, go first, Tim. Let's go.
Okay,
Tim.
so you said only 630 people filled this survey out because of apathy. How are we supposed to know about this thing?
They don't want you to know.
Well,
my
that's
personal
not
opinion.
apathy. That's
So
Communication.
yeah, and that's where the communication part comes in, right? So that's the communication where that part comes in. I think the general answer, especially when you look at voting meetings and work session meetings, well, I got to take my kids to baseball and I got to do whatever. I got to do all the stuff. So it becomes convenient to excuse because your life is so busy to ignore Hall County government. It feels like, and that's not specifically you. That was me too. I mean, before 2021, I didn't know these people in the back of the room. I wouldn't even know who was my county commissioner before 2021. I didn't know who my school board guy was. I didn't know.
I get my tax bill every year. Why don't I get something in the mail that says go fill this out?
Yeah.
Send me my tax bill.
And there's some people in the back that would probably love to do that for you.
So I'll piggyback off of that. The only reason I was new to submit feedback for the comprehensive plan.
Because you were on it.
No, I may have been, but only for a short while because the late, great Johnny Varner solicited my input as someone from East Hall. But the methodology that was used by the county commissioners was some contracted Gen Z, XYR, whatever, that all they did was put out something in email or on a website. And how many people in here check their email every single week? I barely do. I do it because I have to. The majority of the people in East Hall, I'll tell you what, they probably, half of them, like my dad that owns the farm that I'm on, doesn't even check his email. So that's the reason, and you're right, they don't want to know. They don't want to know. They made it as obtuse as possible or obscure as possible so that no one would be able to give accurate input. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that real quick. So our meeting in North Hall, which would have been in March of 2023, our open meeting, it was at 10:30. It was in the comprehensive plan. You can go look this up. It was at 10:30 in the morning at the North Hall Community Center on a Tuesday. How many people are in the North Hall Community Center on a Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning? There's got to be like 5 people in like a yoga class maybe. But there's no way that you can have an appropriate amount of people respond when you're in the middle of the week. Same thing, we can soapbox for a while. We can soapbox on a work session meeting while we're here too. Having that on 3 p.m. on a Monday is ridiculous. Nobody goes to that stuff. It's all staff. But yes, the county really doesn't care. It seems like it doesn't care. So.
It appeared to me that they did not want real input based on the, evidently they hired an outside firm. I'm sure somebody got a type of, not kickback, but some family member got enumerated for that. Because the people that were running it had no idea of any of the locations we were talking about.
Yes.
No idea, because I talked to them on the phone on 2 or 3 occasions. I got hot about it.